All right, so get this. We're diving into some serious psychic waters today. You guys sent in this wild article all about Joseph Tittle's predictions for, get this, 2024 and 2025.
Yeah, this one's a doozy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets even weirder. The whole thing is written like it's this roundtable discussion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he's got Nostradamus, Edgar Cayce,
Wow.
all these heavy hitters just chiming in.
He's like a who's who of the metaphysical world, right?
Exactly. And speaking of, we should probably do a quick recap for anyone who needs a refresher. We've got Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet.
Famous for those super specific predictions.
Right. Like decades later, people are still talking about them.
And Nostradamus, well, he's practically the OG of cryptic predictions. I mean, people are still trying to decipher his writings from the 16th century.
No kidding. Then we've got David Wilcock, who, well, is a bit more modern, but he's all about those ancient civilizations and consciousness.
And now everything's connected.
Yeah, all those alternative theories about how the world really works.
Oh, and we can't forget Dolores Cannon. She's a powerhouse when it comes to new Earth concepts and past life regression.
Right, right. And to round out this all-star lineup, there's Barbara Marciniak bringing those Pleiadian messages and galactic energy into the mix.
Talk about a potent combination.
It's a lot. But at the center of it all is Joseph Tittle, and he believes we're in what he calls the season of water.
Season of water.
Yeah, sounds kind of ominous, right?
A little bit. What's that all about?
Well, he describes it as this time of, like, super intense energy, and it's all building up to something big in 2025.
Okay, so what's the water got to do with it?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but he talks about eclipses being major triggers, like these cosmic turning points.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and he keeps using this phrase, collision of light and dark.
Honestly, with everything going on in the world right now, that doesn't sound too far off.
Not at all. Okay, so Tittle kicks things off with his predictions about natural disasters. Like, get this, he specifically mentions major floods in Georgia and Florida.
Wait a minute, those areas have already had some pretty bad flooding this year, haven't they?
Exactly. It's kind of eerie, right?
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if he's tapped into something or if he's just, observing the trend of climate change.
True, true. It could be both, I guess. But either way, it's a little unsettling.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. He also throws in a hurricane named Helen and even volcanic activity from Mount Fuji and Mount St. Helens. It's like Mother Nature is really upping the ante.
Wow. That's a pretty intense picture he's painted.
I know, right? It's almost biblical.
You know, it actually aligns with a lot of what Edgar Cayce talked about with his Earth changes prophecies.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and even Dolores Cannon's New Earth concept, they both suggest that our planet's going through this massive transformation, just like we humans are.
So you're saying maybe we shouldn't be surprised if things start getting a little messy?
Well, it's not necessarily about being messy, but maybe more about release and renewal. Like, if the Earth is going through a period of letting go, maybe we should be too.
That's a pretty powerful thought.
It is, isn't it? Makes you wonder what we might be clinging to that's no longer serving us.
For sure. And speaking of things that might need a little shaken up, Tittle's got some pretty interesting things to say about Hollywood. Get ready for some drama.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back much, does he? He basically predicts this whole wave of arrests, big scandals, rocking Hollywood.
It's kind of wild. He even calls out Puff Daddy specifically.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, it's like he's saying, brace yourselves, some serious truth is about to drop.
Wow. So it's not just about one celebrity. It sounds like he's talking about something bigger.
Right. Like
That's-
he's describing this whole system, right? Abuse and corruption just like woven into the fabric of the entertainment industry.
Which, if we think about it, actually kind of lines up with some of the things David Wilcock has been saying about, the elite using media for manipulation.
Oh, for sure.
It's a disturbing thought, for sure, but definitely not a new one.
Right. And it makes you think twice about what you're watching.
Yeah.
And who you're supporting with your choices.
Absolutely. And this might be a bit of a tangent because she's not mentioned in this article, but I can't help but think about Sylvia Browne and all that she used to say about karmic reckoning.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, she always emphasized that actions have consequences and that even those in positions of power, they're not exempt. It's like there's this universal balancing act always at play.
Okay, so we've got natural disasters, Hollywood scandals, and it feels like Tittle's just getting warmed up. Because then he turns his attention to the whole world stage, and things get even more intense.
Yeah, this is where it starts to feel like that global tinderbox he keeps mentioning. Tittle sees the Middle East as this major flashpoint, especially with all the tension between Israel and Iran.
Right, and he doesn't stop there. He throws Russia and Europe into the mix, too.
Yeah, that's a lot of volatile energy swirling around.
It's wild, right? And it makes you think, it always seems to come back to these specific regions, like they hold this extra weight, you know,
Totally. It's like their significance goes way beyond geography.
like a spiritual significance.
Exactly. Which reminds me of what Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus both said about these areas being really important in a spiritual sense, but also prone to conflict and major upheaval.
Oh, wow. So it's like they're battlegrounds on multiple levels.
Yeah. And it
Right.
really makes you wonder, are we just witnessing some predestined clash of civilizations like some people believe? Or do we actually have the power to choose something different?
I mean, that is the question, isn't it? And speaking of people who seem to be caught in some pretty major energy, Tittle had some things to say about Donald Trump that they're hard to ignore. Okay, so remember how we were talking about intense? Well, this is where Tittle's predictions take a bit of a turn.
Oh,
Yeah, get this. He sees assassination attempts on Donald Trump.
assassination attempts, like plural.
Plural. He even gets specific, like a gunshot wound to the shoulder, some kind of attack at a rally.
Wow.
Oh, and something involving his airplane. It's a lot,
That's pretty heavy stuff.
right? And he links it all back to, Trump's legal battles and how he's constantly challenging the, as Tittle puts it, global elite. It's like Tittle sees him as this disruptor, someone who's shaking up the whole system.
I could see that.
Right. And it's almost like because of that, Trump becomes this, I don't know, this lightning rod for all this energy, both good and bad. It reminds me of like what David Wilcock said about how the elite, they really opposed Trump's presidency. It's like in their eyes, he represented a threat to the way things were.
Right, right.
And while Carla Rueckert doesn't mention Trump directly, her channeled messages about a shift in consciousness, they start to feel really relevant here.
How so?
Well, she talks about this move towards love and understanding, unity, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But then you've got Tittle painting this picture of conflict, even violence.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. So it's like this big tug of war between darkness and light, and Trump's caught right in the middle of it?
Exactly. It's almost like a trial by fire, not just for him, but for all of us,
I do, yeah. And it reminds me of something Edgar Cayce talked about the role of leaders in our spiritual evolution.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, he believed that certain people, even if they weren't perfect, could act as these catalysts, They push us to confront things about ourselves, about the world, that we might not want to see otherwise.
So, like, these figures, they hold up a mirror to humanity.
In a way, yeah. And it's up to us to decide how we respond.
Man, it's a lot to unpack, right?
Wow.
Natural disasters, Hollywood scandals, global conflicts, assassination attempts.
It is a lot, yeah.
It can feel pretty overwhelming.
It definitely can. But that's why these deep dives are so important, It's not about whether we believe every single prediction, but they make us think critically. They get us talking about these bigger questions, the things that are weighing on all of us.
Totally. And it's easy to get caught up in the negativity, the news, social media. It's like this constant barrage of doom and gloom.
Absolutely. But we have to remember we have a choice. We're not